So a lot of people have asked me to do a video commenting on the Gary Neville situation. I tend not to get involved when it's sort of football stuff because I'm not a football guy. I don't know who Gary Neville is. If I walked past Gary Neville in the street, I wouldn't recognize him. I would just be like, he's a guy. And it was the same when I had Matt Letizia on the podcast, The Load Seaters. My dad was flipping out because Matt Letizia was like his childhood hero or something. It's like a superstar from when he was younger. And I'm like, okay, I don't know who he is, Dad. He was a really lovely guy, though. Really, really happy to have him on. He was really great. But I don't know anything about football. So anyway, this was Gareth. So I feel I'm just saying this because I don't want people to think that I'm trying to jump on a bandwagon, right? Because this is not my forte discussing footballers. However, I think that I am qualified to comment on this because Gary decided that he would actually step outside of football and talk about politics and demographics. And so actually I have got something I can say about that. And so I suppose we'll watch his video where he tells us why he's tearing down the Union flag.
So I've just left my house and walking into the office, waking up obviously, seeing the news last night and the news this morning dominated by the horrific attacks within the Jewish community just about a mile from here. And was driving home from Salford City last night. I was driving actually to Salford City, going down a Littleton Road.
So before we go on, just to be clear, he's prefacing this in the wake of the Manchester synagogue attack where 2 Jewish men were stabbed by a guy called Jihad, and he had rung up the emergency services or something and said, yes, I'm doing this for the Islamic State because I love Islam and I love killing Jews. Right, okay, great. Go on, Gary. Tell us who the real problem is.
Seeing 60, probably 50 or 60 Union Jack flags. And on the way back I went down the parallel road, which is Berrynew Road, which has got the Jewish community right at its heart. And they're out on the streets, defiant, not hiding or in fear. And I just kept thinking as I was driving home last night that we're all being turned on each other. And the division that's being created is absolutely disgusting. Mainly created by angry, middle-aged white men.
Okay, well, as an angry, middle-aged white man, I find this very interesting. So you'll notice how he's conflating two things here. The first thing is the Islamist attack on the Jewish synagogue that killed 2 Jewish people. And then he's conflating that with the Raise the Colours protests, the angry right-wing white men who are sick of seeing the country given away to foreigners. Increasingly, I mean, this is what Robert Jemrick was commenting on the other day when he went to Birmingham. There are no white faces, there's no English people in the centre of Birmingham. Yeah, there aren't. There are large areas of the country now that have been given over to people from other countries. Now, that doesn't mean that people from other countries are intrinsically bad or something, right? That's not what anyone is saying, as far as I'm aware. It just means that actually England was for the English, and actually giving it away to an infinite number of foreigners dispossesses us of our patrimony. This dispossesses me and my children and my future generations of what actually we are supposed to pass on to them intact, like our ancestors did for us. Because, I mean, I'm guessing I'm about the same age as Gary, and we grew up in a country that was 95% English. And so that's what the Raise the Colours is about. We're sick of being second-class citizens in a country that is being given away from us. Against our will, by the way. Democratically, we have always chosen the opposite path, and yet here we are. And so he's conflating these two issues, Islamic extremism and terrorism, with the Raise the Colours protest. But in a way, they are kind of connected. So he's actually not wrong to do it, because the fundamental crux of the Raise the Colours protest is a statement of sovereignty of the English people over England and the other British peoples over the other constituent nations of the country. But it's most pronounced in England because England is where the problem is greatest. And it's a statement against multiculturalism, as in we knew this would be problematic. We knew there would be issues between communities, and actually you can't just bring in all of the world's people and expect them to just play nice. And even if you could, why would you need to? Why are we doing this? This is our country. They have countries of their own. Like, we would literally have to go to their countries and bring them from there, where they have their own states, their own governments, their own legal systems, their own cultures, mass cultures that are for themselves, so they can feel comfortable and like they belong in a place. And that's all I want for me and my children and my descendants. That's all I want, is for a country that acts in the same way their countries worked for them, that acts for us in that same way, so we can feel safe and comfortable and familiar in our own countries. And so they while Gary is actually conflating two things that appear to be separate, there is a connection here, and there is the same issue. And so he's actually not wrong to say, oh, right, the angry middle-aged white men who are observing this accurately and pointing out that, hang on a second, this is essentially creating a rod for our own back, an irreconcilable difference, an irreconcilable problem that we can only solve by essentially asking a lot of the foreigners to go home, to make sure that we understand that England is our place and not theirs. And if there are foreigners here, and I'm not saying that we have to kick out every single foreigner on earth or something, or in England, I'm not saying anything like that. What I'm saying is we have to be cognizant that we should remain the overwhelming demographic majority of the country. For example, I think it's undesirable for England to be fewer than or less than 90% English. There's no reason we would ever want that, right? There's no reason to consent to that. And a bunch of the people who have come here to take advantage of us, our welfare state, what was our prosperity, that's slipping through our fingers now, isn't it? Those people actually don't have to be here. They actually can go somewhere else. And we probably should just be clear. Look, we don't hate anyone, but we've had enough, right? We've had enough of all this. And that's what the flags are about. That's why 1 million people turned out in the streets for Tommy the other day. We've just had enough. And those people who are foreign, who are our friends and who have been here for generations, that's fine. They can stay. But millions of people who aren't our friends are here. Millions of people who haven't been here for generations are here. And actually, we don't need those people to stay. Those people who are born overseas, don't care about this country at all, and just came to take advantage and send remittances home, actually, we don't need them funneling wealth out of the country, making the country more overcrowded, making the place more dangerous, not integrating, as Robert Jemrick pointed out. We actually don't need those people. And they're here to kind of take advantage, really. And I don't like that. And so I would prefer it if those people just went home, as they have homes to go to, so we can begin the process of essentially rebuilding the country and recentering the native British people as the people for whom the country is actually for. And that fundamentally is the underlying demand of the angry middle-aged white men, because they need it for their families. We need it for our wives and children to make sure that they have a future that is worth having, like we had when we were young. And actually, Gary, it's us all dropping the ball and allowing this all to happen, then being like, okay, no, oh no, Gary Neville, defender of the minorities. No, shut up, Gary. You're a fucking footballer. Like, your opinion on moral philosophy or the future of the country is actually not terribly relevant to anyone, which is why you've pissed everyone off, because you decided that you were going to be like, oh, I'm going to save the minorities, and you stuck your foot in it. But the thing is, Gary, they're the majority, actually. They're the majority everywhere else on earth. It's just that you are actually much more parochial than you realize when you say, oh, they are minorities. No, they are majorities in their home countries. Like, oh, the Nigerians have come over. There are 220 million Nigerians, Gary, and 44 million English. What about the Pakistanis? There are 200 plus million Pakistanis and 44. There are more Pakistanis in this country than there are Welshmen on the earth, Gary. There are about 3 million Welshmen and about 4 or 5 million Pakistanis in this country. Like, it is mental how you think that we are somehow this demographic powerhouse, when actually everything would say the opposite. Anyway, I'm going to let him carry on, because I realize I've been ranting for a bit now. But like this just really, it is a position of profound ignorance that Gary is speaking from.
Sites last week, there was a Union Jack flag put up, and I took it down instantly. And some people might be watching this and thinking, well, Gary, you're not very patriotic. I played for my country 85 times. I love my country. I love Manchester and I love England. But I've been building in this city for 15, 20 years, and there's no one put a Union Jack flag up in the last 15 to 20 years, so why do you need to put one up now?
Okay, well, maybe that's the problem, Gary, right? We've just been through a period of hyper-progressivism that completely destroyed the country, that betrayed the people who were voting against mass immigration and voting against radical change, and yet we got it anyway. And so we can feel the country slipping through our fingers. And you're like, well, what? You didn't have to put the flag before. Well, maybe that was the problem, right? I bet you saw a lot of bloody Black Lives Matter, Palestine, trans flags around, didn't you? But you didn't see any Union Jacks. You didn't see any St. George's crosses. Interesting how suddenly, after all of these years, after everything being pushing against us, you see it pushing back and you're like, oh no, this is a flag of division. No, it is. It is absolutely a flag of division. Us versus them. And we're going to win because this is our country and we want it more than them. That's what this is going to come down to, Gary. Who wants it more? I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have anywhere to run to. These guys who are putting up the flags don't have anywhere to run to. And I'm probably in a better position than them because I can probably afford to at least leave the country. I could probably afford to, I've got friends in America I could appeal to, but I'm not going to do that because they can't go anywhere. They can't leave. Not everyone's in my position, so we have to stay. And we have to fix this. And the thing is, we are going to as well. We want this flag as a statement of ownership. This is our country. Ours, Gary. And if they don't like that, they have countries they can go to. They have countries where there's nothing but their flags. Nothing but hundreds of millions of their own people, right? They can go back to those. We can't. This is our only one. And if you let this go, then you'll be part of the generation. I mean, do you think your grandchildren are going to be like, I'm so glad my dad did everything he could to make us the minority in this country? Do you think your grandchildren are like, thank God, he was so progressive, he wasn't a racist at all, and now look at the state of the place? Of course they won't, you fool.
It's quite clearly it's sending a message to everybody that there is something you don't like. The Union Jack flag being used in a negative fashion is not right.
It's not being used in a negative fashion. It's actually being used in a positive fashion. A positive statement of the British people against mass immigration. That's what it's for. We did not want this, Gary. We never asked for this. And not everyone is a multi-millionaire in your position who is able to just float above the rest of society because he has the wealth to do so. The guys putting up the flags, I don't know whether you've noticed, but a lot of the time you'll find middle-class men interceding in some working-class lads putting up the flag, and you can tell there's a profound difference in wealth and hierarchy in this country that these two different groups operate in. And I'm sorry, I'm for the working class on this. I'm for the working class. They don't have all of the resources of the rich like yourself or the middle class. What they have is the safety and security of knowing that at least their country is for them, right? That's what makes their lives decent and bearable, right? They might not have, and I've been poor. You don't have a huge amount of money, but at least the place feels familiar. At least the place feels safe. At least you know the people around you. At least you can rely upon the fact that they are normal and decent and like you. And if you take that away from them, man, I dread to think what happens from that, what follows from that. But moreover, why do they deserve to have that taken away from them? Why do you find foreigners, again, who have their own countries, to be more deserving than your own countrymen of where you are and what you have? I just find this attitude baffling. Again, they have their own countries. They have entire nations where their people exist in this area. And it's like, okay, good. I'm for them having their entire nations of that. And I'm for them having complete sovereignty over their nation. Like everyone keeps saying, oh, well, you want to get rid of the foreigners? Or what, you want the Spanish to kick out the Brits? If they want, I don't care. It's Spain's country. If they're like, yeah, no, we're fine with however many Brits living out there, like a few 100,000 or whatever it is, I don't mind. And if they're like, you know what, we've had enough of the Brits now, we want to send them home, I don't mind that either. Right? You are guests in their country, and therefore, if they say we've had enough, then you should respect that. They've had enough. And I apply that same standard to us.
And I'm a proud supporter of England of Great Britain, of our country, and we're championing it anywhere in the world as being one of the greatest places to live. But I think we need to check ourselves.
So this I find very interesting. No, I love England. I love Britain. I think it's one of the best places to live. Yet for who? Is it one of the best places to live for the girls who are being raped by Muslim grooming gangs? Are they like, yeah, this is the greatest country in the world? No, obviously not. Right? But are the Muslim groomers being like, is this the best country in the world to live? Maybe they are. Maybe they actually do think that. I'm not happy with the way this country is being run. And I don't think this is the greatest country in the world for the English to live in, Gary. But it should be, because it's ours. And if we decide to extend the hand of friendship to a certain number of foreigners and say, yeah, you can live with us, that's fine. We like you, you seem to like us, and we're happy to have you here, then that's a charity that we extend, isn't it? That's not, we will turn the entire country into a global way station for every foreigner who wants to come here, regardless of whether you speak English, whether you like the country, or you're prepared to like try and integrate, try and get on with other groups, try and learn English. That's not what our country is for, Gary. It's not for the comfort of foreigners, actually. And I know that sounds ridiculous, alien, racist or something, but that's just the case. Like when I go to a foreign country, I don't expect that country to be for my comfort. I expect that to be for the comfort of the people who live in it. And the same thing here.
We need to check ourselves and sort of start to think about bring ourselves back to a neutral point, because we're being pulled right and left, and we don't need to be pulled right and left.
Gary, it's because the consensus is destroying the country. The neutral point is allowing the state, through policy, to dispossess us of our inheritance. I'm not having it. I'm not having it. I want England to go back to being 90% English. That's the case. And so that means the millions of people who in the last 10 years were allowed to live here need to go home. They don't need to be here. We don't need them here. They're not helping. I don't know whether you've noticed, but the economy is a shambles. Nothing works. Millions of people have to return. That's just the way it is, Gary.
At all. I've always said this about, I played in a football team with a group of people from Manchester, a group of people from Ireland, Wales, Scotland, but also people from Africa, people from Asia, people from America.
Incredible. And do they have countries? Are they from places? I play with people from Asia. Yeah, what, Indians, Pakistanis, Chinese people, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, do they have countries of their own? It's almost like they do. It's almost like there are billions of them in their own sovereign states. And I'm not saying, like I said, that not a single one can live here or something like that, Gary. I'm not saying they're bad people. What I'm saying is numbers matter. The numbers matter. And this I played in a football team with some nice chaps, so bring in an unlimited number of immigrants. No, that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous thing to say. It's a ridiculous position from you. And you don't seem to care that destroys England for future generations. And we only have one. And once it's gone, we won't get it back, Gary. We won't get it back. It'll be gone forever. And they won't even remember the name. They'll have a different name for our country. And I'm not up for that. At all.
People from Europe. And we were a beautiful team. United as one.
Great. Great, Gary. That's so good. Give up our country because of your football team. Fuck you.
Brexit has had a devastating impact on this country.
Oh, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about.
And the messaging is getting dangerous.
Good. We want people to understand this is our country and not theirs. I'm sick of our ruling class consistently stabbing us in the back and betraying us over this, Gary. This is our country. And if you disagree with me in any way, shape or form, feel free to contact me. I will sit and have a discussion with you. Very reasonably, as I have a reasonable discussion with everyone, I will sit and explain to you why you are wrong.
Extremely dangerous. All these idiots that are out there spreading hate speech in any form and abuse in any form, we must stop promoting them. We must stop elevating our voices towards them. It needs to stop now.
Or what? Or what? What do you think happens? Because I tell you what happens if we do what you think. If you're like, yeah, we need to censor all of these people. We need to marginalize all of the straight white angry men in this country, who are the majority taxpayers, who are the law-abiding people, whom you rely upon for everything you have, Gary, right? All of the things that you take for granted, built by middle-aged white men, right? So just, or what? Let's marginalize people. What happens? Well, I think, Gary, actually what you're doing is setting the scene for a civil conflict, right? There are two ways this resolves. Either through the ballot box, where we demographically and democratically vote for what we want, and because we are the majority still by a long way, we will get it, or it's by some other means, because we have nowhere else to go. Our backs are against the wall. And if you're like, well, I mean, my precious minorities, I have to protect them at all costs. Well, okay, I wonder if they have a state maybe that can do that. I wonder if, say, the Indian state can protect Indians. I wonder if the Pakistani state can protect Pakistanis. I wonder if these African countries are there for them, and that was the purpose of decolonization entirely. They wanted sovereign countries that weren't ruled by the British, so they should have had them, and they do. And now, I want a sovereign country that is not ruled for foreigners. It's the same principle of their decolonization I'm just applying to my own country. I want my country to be for me and my family and my friends and my neighbours and my people. I want England to be for the English. I want Wales to be for the Welsh, and so on and so forth. And I think that once everyone has that, a national state that works in their interest, we will have peace. We will have prosperity, and we will have a future to which we can be optimistic. But that begins by recognizing that this country is for us and not for them.